Hi, I'm Dave. This is the Cyderbaby / Rock Radio UK pod, whatever the name is now. Um, Today I've been badgered by Brett Scarrott to interview these guys. I caved. So welcome, Hand of Kalliach.
Thanks very much,
Thanks
Dave.
so much.
Glad to
And
be
thank
on.
you, Brett.
Yeah, great work, Brett.
Yeah.
He's like
Yeah,
our unofficial PR guy.
Yeah.
he is. He is. Do you pay him?
We
Probably,
should. We
probably
should.
should. Yeah. Send the odd T-shirt his way and things like that. But that's it.
Yeah. Well, Hand of Kalliach is not really my kind of material I play at breakfast time. But I've got to say, I've got
Fair, fair. I think
yeah,
that's
yeah.
reasonable.
But I've got to say, I've listened to the album because you've just released, was it Corryvreckan? Vrecken?
Corryvreckan, yeah,
Yeah, there
absolutely.
you go. I've got my notes on right. That's why I'm looking to the side. Just released that album, what, 23rd of February, which is 2 weeks ago
Yeah,
now. So,
maybe 2 weeks. Yeah.
wow, what an album! It's just got about everything on it that I really like. I mean, there's so much like atmospheric Celtic sounding folklorish music, but you've also got some what I call, well, not commercial. That's the wrong word. Something that I really like. Songs like Fell Rains, Deathless, and Broken You Remain, sort of like hard hitting, out and out rockers.
Awesome.
So, uh, tell me about the album. Tell me about yourselves first. Where are you from? Where did you
Sure.
form? So,
So we're from Edinburgh in Scotland, and we formed in
2020. There we go.
2020. No,
2020.
2020. So like deep pandemic lockdown. We just kind of tried to keep sane by writing a few songs and playing a bit of cheap, jamming a bit, and it turned into a little band, and then now it's kind of grown arms and legs. So that's us really.
Yeah. I guess it was something we'd kind of talked about doing for a while, doing a bit more of a darker version of folk metal than you might typically
yeah.
find out there. And trying to, instead of using a lot of the traditional Scottish instruments that you might hear in sort of standard folk metal, try and take the same sort of rhythms and scales and patterns and take them from traditional instruments and put them on an electric guitar instead. So you still get a lot of the energy and the sort of folky vibes from it, but you still got quite a lot of the heaviness that will come with a suitably distorted guitar. So
Yeah.
that was the gist of it, really. Yeah.
Okay, so it is just the two of you at the moment.
Yeah, that's right. We've got a lead guitarist, Dehan, who has been with us now for the past couple of months, just while we spin up for live shows, and same with Tom, the drummer. So we're kind of working up to playing as a four-piece, but yeah, for this album and for the writing and stuff like that, it's just been the two of us. Yeah.
Okay, so let's step it back a bit. The writing, how did you go? How did you broach that subject? Because you must have had so many ideas, and to formulate it into an album such as you have must have taken some work in itself.
Yeah. I think it's definitely an entertaining process, especially because we're married and we just live together all the time anyway, and then sort of having to discuss the riffs in between the breakfast and changing the kids' nappies and things like that. It's quite an interesting collection of
Rock and roll, man.
discussions.
Rock and roll.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. Super hardcore.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, but I mean, it's something that's come up a few times, and I guess it's quite an interesting one being married and being able to do it, because it means we can actually iterate over our songs and sort of work on them at a much faster rate
Hmm.
than you might do if you're in a more traditionally sort of set up sort of band. I mean, I played with quite a few bands when I was a lot younger, and then had a bit of a hiatus for about 10 years or so. But when I was playing with them, it was always quite collaborative and had to
Hmm.
be quite, there's always a level of politics. Like, you don't want to be shooting someone's ideas down. You've all got to kind of agree on the direction you collectively want to go in with the music, otherwise it doesn't work. So I think one of the differences that we found with this was that we could really pick the direction we wanted to go in from the outset, and we were pretty united, I guess, in terms of what we wanted the project to be about. And it meant that the writing process was just so much faster,
Yeah.
because you can just, play around with a riff in the morning, play around with some ideas. And because we're married, it's very easy just to say, that's rubbish. Do it again.
It's great to be,
Yeah.
All
to be very
diplomacy
honest.
goes out the window, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which actually can work really well with this sort of stuff, because it just means you can move that much
Absolutely
faster.
not.
Yeah, no, that's
That's
not
really
good.
terrible.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, being married as well, you've got to be in tune to each other. So you're probably feeding off each other's vibes as well. When you're actually writing, you're probably sort of like finishing each other's sentences, so to speak.
Yeah.
Would
Yeah,
that
I
be
mean,
right?
I think the album, well, our styles are so different. You know, my vocals are quite, well, very, very high. Yours are extremely low,
Yeah.
growly. You know, so I think we're extremely different, but we complement each other, and I think it's the same with
The
the
writing,
music.
yeah,
The
yeah,
writing.
absolutely. Yeah, I think it's usually a good sort of bounce back between each other in terms of, okay, what should we do for this part? Who's doing this part? And I think it's all about the balances you're kind of
Mhm.
driving towards, which is because, like you say, because we know each other, we kind of can anticipate where each other are looking for their sections within the songs, and it really does help with the writing process quite a lot more.
Okay, so what is the story behind the album? It seems to have a theme running through it. So explain
Yeah,
the stories behind the songs. So.
yeah, definitely. Well, do you want me to do this one or?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, the band name itself is a play on the Kalliach, which is the old hag witch god of Scottish winter, sort of pre-Christian, sort of pagan mythology. And the legends variously go that she rises from the Corryvreckan whirlpool, which is a real whirlpool. Apparently, we didn't know this until we were kind of doing research for the band originally, but it's the third biggest whirlpool in the world, and it sits off the coast of Scotland. So it's just the amazing amount of mythology and genuine historical truths that we just didn't know, even being born and bred here. But the fun of actually researching cool mythology and in the context of a metal album just uncovers a lot of this stuff. But she rises from the Corryvreckan at the start of winter at Samhain, which was the precursor to Halloween, and she ushers in winter by throwing her cloak, which she washes in the royal of the Corryvreckan and throws it over the land, where it lands as snow, and that's the start of winter. And then she kind of reigns as basically the queen of winter, if you like, over until sort of March, April, when she sort of returns beneath the waves to give way to summer. And so with this one, it was kind of an extension of Samhain, which was the title of our first album, which was that, again, precursor to Halloween, which was the sort of commencement of the reign. And this was kind of more thematically, in the depths of the Corryvreckan whirlpool, I guess, and a lot of the songs and the writing and mythology and the general sound, we were trying to really bring in as much of that sort of churning maelstrom sort of vibe as possible.
Okay. I mean, I've got it here on my iTunes, and it says death metal, black metal, but it is so far away from that.
Yeah, we didn't pick the genres. I think
Yeah.
sometimes it
No.
just gets allocated by some of the streaming services.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
tricky. I think it's tricky to know what we are really.
Yeah,
Folk metal, atmospheric.
yeah, we've definitely tried a whole bunch of different descriptors, and none of them have felt entirely right.
It's very Scottish. I
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely black metal influences in there. There's
Yeah.
definitely, obviously, a melodic death metal sort of base. I mean, I think for this round we've kind of settled on melodic death metal / folk metal, which seems to be about roughly right, because it's probably more of the former than it is of the latter. But I guess where we've previously really struggled is, well, we're not quite heavy enough just for the pure death metal, melodic death metal sort of badge, and we're maybe a bit too heavy on the folk metal side, or a bit too dark for a lot of the folk metal badges, and somewhere in between the two. That but thankfully we have found a spot that people seem to be interested in, I guess.
Well, it does.
Really
It always hits a spot with me. The Celtic feel to some of the songs, it just sort of like gets me right in the heart, because I suppose
awesome.
back when I was 20, I was going to say 20 years ago. No, more like 40 years ago. Gary Moore brought out Wild Frontier, and of course you had that Celtic feel to it then, and then you go back a bit further, Thin Lizzy, Black Rose and stuff like that. I find very few bands manage to capture the essence of that Celtic feel, and you've managed to do it really, really well, and I really love that, and I've got to say that.
Oh,
So
thank you.
Yeah,
That's really
it's
kind,
awesome
thank
to
you.
hear.
Yeah. So all that aside, with the 9 tracks that are on the album, if you were to go, if somebody was to say, well, who are you and what song should I listen to? What, say 2 songs would you say sum up Hand of Kalliach right now? Who you are right now?
I think we'd have different answers, wouldn't we? I think you're.
Well, my favorite is King Crone, but it might not be. I don't know if it's the one.
Most representative.
I guess Bell Rains.
Yeah, I think both of them
I
probably
guess
would.
Bell Rains,
Yeah.
and it was the decision to release
Go
it
with that one as the single, yeah.
single in the music video, because it kind of is a good one to kind of showcase what our music
the various
is.
dynamics
Yeah,
of
so I'd
it,
say
yeah,
that
yeah.
one.
Yeah. I mean, I guess my favorite of the album is probably the
Yeah.
last one, which is
That makes
of
sense.
Twilight and the
Yeah.
Fire, which is a bit of a, you know, self-indulgent 7-minute long closer, you know, which is
Yeah, it's an epic track.
Thanks very much. Glad you read it. But I would say that's probably the most representative of her sound, purely because, and what we really wanted, well, what I was really keen to do from the writing perspective was get it's starting with as fragile as we could go, with sort of, you know, soul vocals and just the harp in the background,
Yeah.
all the way through to, at the 7th minute, just everything going with a proper wall of sound and just blast beats and trems and everything like that, and try and do a full, you know, transition from that, you know, very, very, very quiet to very, very, very not. So yeah, probably use that as like the pretentious showcasey one, but I think realistically, Fell Rains is definitely the right one to.
But yeah, I think if we get
on.
2,
Yeah.
those 2 are good.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. I mean, I do love the Twilight and the Fire. Yeah, it's just epic. It's everything.
Awesome.
It's everything. Everything you want, really. Just right there. And like you say, oh yeah, it's nearly 7 minutes here.
That's good. It didn't strike you immediately, I guess. Yeah. You weren't watching the clock as you're listening to it. Yeah, like, come on.
Right. I've lost my train of thought now. So you do all the production. You've done all the instrumentation yourselves
So we do all
for
the
this album.
recording ourselves. Yeah,
Yeah.
we do use an external engineer, Winter Pryor over at Sphinx Studios, who also did Samhain as well. He's been fantastic. So we've got a bit of recording kit here that we can just use and just pump it into the laptop. We've got our instruments and mics and things like that. But then we just basically pack it all up on a file transfer system for him, and then he just takes all the raw audio and like rebuilds it all, like reamps everything. So we'll send him like a demo of how we're roughly wanting it to sound, just playing around with our own systems, and then he'll kind of work from there, and we just have some very intensive, you know, discussions with him. He's a long-suffering guy, because you can probably hear from the amount that we try and crowbar into these tracks, you know, dumping it with a sound engineer who's, you know, more used to just 2 guitars, a bass and a drum kit, and maybe a vocalist, like one vocalist, and then you just jump them with like, right, I want a choir section here and harps here.
He's amazing. I mean, he's equally as into the kind of weird choir stuff and
he's
kind of atmospheric noises. So he's brilliant.
Yeah. My son's a sound engineer as well, and
Awesome.
some of the stuff he does with Reagan as well is very similar to yourselves. Quite overlayered as well. There's so many layers, so many different sounds. But I mean, yeah, if you want just rock and roll, 2 guitars and a drum kit just going, then yeah, that's fine. That's easy to do. But you want so much more out of music these days, I'm finding. And you've managed to do that. You've managed to draw in so many different little bits and pieces here, there, and everywhere. It's just well done.
It's extremely kind.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Okay. That's okay. I mean, was there anything you wanted to get on the album? Like you've mentioned a harp. I mean, I didn't hear a banjo, but I mean,
yeah, I guess we've tried to be quite minimalist a lot of the time with the amount of folk instrumentation we've been using, purely because of kind of what we're saying at the start. Like, we want to keep the energy from it and the vibe without actually overutilizing the instruments, which can sometimes just sound a bit too folky to get the sort of dark elements that we're kind of after here. But we've definitely pushed it out a little bit more for this one, and I think we'd like to do it more in any next ones that we do, and sort of creep in a bit more of the traditional instrumentation, but still keeping the vibe. I guess with Samhain, our first one, we hardly had anything other than a few harp samples and choir samples, but that was pretty much it. We really didn't want it to be anything more than that to prove that the concept would work. But we've definitely done a bit more this time, and I think we'd love to get like even something like bagpipes or an actual accordion in would be awesome if we could make it work. Bagpipes, proper big bagpipes, are a nightmare because the tunings are all about like half a step off of a normal tuned guitar, so it just doesn't play ball nicely at all. You can get like small pipes, which are a bit more conversational, and they can go to like a standard tuning. So yeah, maybe have a look at some of that. I don't know if there's anything else you would want to see.
I would like to record some songs that are slightly lower.
For you, yeah.
I'm practicing at the moment, like we're practicing for live shows, and it's just so high, and I love it. I love the sound, and I think it adds to it. But yeah, it just
Oh, what?
Like you do a mid-range song for change, and I'll just shut up.
It's not mid-range song. And then you can do the really high pitch bit.
Oh yeah, okay. Just a quick, short, sharp kick, and yeah, I'll be good to go. Yeah.
We'll swap for one.
You're gonna have to be using some sort of backing tracks, I assume, for the live. Even you were saying you're a 4-piece, so
yeah, absolutely. I think that's been one of the biggest sort of stumbling blocks we've just been coming to grips with just now. I think it was the first time we've ever really tried to, well, certainly having played in a few bands before when I was younger, like I said, we never tried to do anything complicated or clever with additional samples or overlays from like pre-recorded audio and things. So getting all this to work has definitely been a bit of an interesting exercise. So our poor drummer Tom is having to sit there at the moment with a monitor earphones in. One of them has just got a very loud click track in, so he knows exactly when he needs to be coming in with the various samples, and the other's got like the track, so he knows where he is with respect to the general song. And then split off from what's going into his ears, we've then got another unit that's then playing just the sort of harp samples, the choir samples, that's then going to the PA, and the whole thing is just this spaghetti mess of cabling, which is yeah, definitely taxed my levels of knowledge on the sound engineering side of things. But it's yeah, it's working now, which is great. But it's just around getting up to standard so we can try and replicate that really dense sound as much as possible in the live hall. So still playing on instruments as well. So yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm going to let you go because I know you're busy people. You probably just want to put your feet out rather than speaking to me.
No, we're always good with a drink and a chat. But
yeah. So just a couple of final questions. And where do you want to go? Where do you see yourselves going in the next couple of years?
Definitely playing some live shows is our next kind of thing we're working towards, and that feels like a really big step.
Yeah.
So that's next.
Yeah, and then I mean we've got a lot of potential. We're delighted with the signing to Prosthetic, which really opened an awful lot of doors and gave us a much bigger platform than we would have ever expected to have had for the relative weirdness of the project. So that's opened a whole bunch of potential doors as well for collaboration and further writing and engagement with some of the wider global metal community and probably broader. So yeah, just interested to see how that all unfolds really.
Okay. I'd like to see you play somewhere like Bloodstock. I think you go down a storm there.
That would be amazing.
I'd love to do that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Who knows? Maybe 25 would be the year, but we'll see how this year goes on the live show side. Yeah.
Okay, well, Hand Of Kalliach, I wish you all the very best. You've done an amazing job with Corryvreckan. I can't speak, so I probably have got the pronunciation all wrong.
Nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. Yeah.
Okay, so where can people buy this album? Where can people stream it? Is it a physical copy thing, or is it just?
Yeah, we've got physical copies up. We've got our vinyl and CDs for Corryvreckan is all through Prosthetic, so you can either get that through the web store, or you can go onto our Bandcamp Bandcamp page. They kind of run the Corryvreckan page itself, but it's just via our page, so you can order all through there. We've got our older stuff for Samhain, which we send directly on vinyl, and CDs and bits and pieces as well. And yeah, we're on all the streaming services. So yeah, take your pick.
Brilliant. Corryvreckan, Hand of Kalliach. I even get it wrong now. Hand of Kalliach, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks so
you
much for having us. Yeah, been a pleasure.